Busch Gardens Tampa is one of my favorite amusement parks of all time. In addition to having an amazing coaster collection, they just have an amazing park that the entire family can enjoy together. Everything about this park is just awesome. They have everything from amazing animals to pretty good theme park food. And within the past couple of years, they've been definitely putting themselves on the map. They've definitely been focusing on coasters a lot lately and have gotten the reputation of having some of the best coasters in the United States, along with one of the most hyped up coasters to ever exist. But how long is their focus on coasters going to last? And what exactly is the future of this park going to be? So in this video, I'll be talking about the future of Busch Gardens Tampa Bay, but more specifically their next couple of years starting from 2021. I will be looking at everything from possible ride removals to what possible major investments could come to the park in the coming years. So join me as I discuss the future of Busch Gardens Tampa Bay. But like always, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. I post new videos every week and I really appreciate all of the amazing support that this channel has been getting. Now, if you're a fan of this channel, you'll probably notice that this is a new type of video that I haven't quite done before. So let me explain how this is going to work. This is not going to be like every typical 5-year plan where I just start off by going year by year and taking a random guess. Instead, I'm going to start off the video by looking at possible gaps in their lineup. This will help us take an educated guess instead of making a random one. And after that, of course, I will be going year by year. And after a detailed explanation, I'm going to be doing something I've always wanted to do for a very long time, so stay tuned. So first, we need to look at Busch Gardens to see if they have any major gaps inside their lineup. They already have a sufficient number of coasters, so I don't think that adding a coaster will be their highest priority for quite a while. So coasters aren't something that Busch Gardens is in desperate need of. Instead, the thing that they are in desperate need of is flat rides. Believe it or not, Busch Gardens only has a limited selection of flat rides. When you go to the park, you can easily notice this. Sure, they have the bumper cars and the water rides, but you can clearly tell they are missing a lot of thrilling flat rides and family rides. I mean, they don't even have a basic swing ride. So within the next couple of years, I think that they're definitely going to fix this problem by adding flat rides. I'll explain what flat rides exactly in a little bit. The only other major gap in their lineup would be an indoor ride. I honestly think that they do need an indoor ride pretty badly. At this park, when it rains, you have very limited options on where to go. But I find them getting an indoor ride in the next 5 years super unlikely. And I know I said earlier that they don't need a new coaster anytime soon, but I'd be crazy to say that they wouldn't get a coaster at all within the next 5 years. But when I actually tried to figure out what coaster they would get, it was very tricky to find large gaps in their lineup. A lot of people say that they could get a GCI or a Gravity Group wooden coaster, but I honestly think that this doesn't have much chance of happening at all. Basically, large-scale wooden coasters don't seem to do very well in Florida because of the heat. And after everything that happened to Gwazi, I don't see Busch Gardens having much chance of getting a wooden coaster at all. But I do have one coaster in mind that they could get, and I'll talk about that in a second. So now that I briefly went over any gaps in their lineup, it's time to go over Busch Gardens Tampa's 5-year plan starting from 2021. Now you may be asking yourself, why am I not doing a 10-year plan? And my reasoning for that is because 10 years is such a long time that even if I try to be as accurate as possible, 10 years is just too far out to accurately predict. Now I'm going to try to be as realistic as possible. So in 2021, I'm predicting that they are going to be getting the rumored S&S Scream & Swing. As of now, this is a pretty credible rumor, and it makes sense considering the fact that BGT's sister park, Busch Gardens Williamsburg, also has one, and it fills a huge gap in their lineup. So for 2021, they're most likely getting the S&S Scream & Swing. This is actually a really good addition for the park. Now 2022 I predict is going to be a little bit of a smaller year for the park. In 2022 I predict that they will maybe add a new show or maybe upgrade the kids area of the park. And I also predict that they will definitely add a new slide to Adventure Island if we're lucky. 2023 on the other hand is going to be a little bit of a bigger year. I predict in 2023 that they are definitely going to get another flat ride, or more specifically a major flat ride such as the Zamperla Air Race or Zamperla Pendulum Ride. These rides are very popular for parks and are definitely crowd pleasers. Also, this is when I would expect that we will hear the Scorpion removal announcement. Scorpion is getting kind of old and it doesn't get as much love as it used to. 2024 I think is going to be yet another off year. Now I really wanted to say that they would get something big for 2024 with it being their 65th anniversary, but the entire pandemic really shook SeaWorld as a whole, and I think it will have lasting implications. So what would have been a major attraction for this year would probably get pushed back until the year after. But honestly, I see them doing something like Cedar Point did in 2020. I see them maybe doing a festival or just general park improvements. This will be a build up until 2025 where they will add possibly their best addition they've ever added. So for 2025, I predict that they will add their best addition yet. It will be the legendary Giga Coaster. We've all been waiting for a Giga Coaster to come to Busch Gardens, and I think 2025 is going to be the year where they do it. This will be a 300-foot tall Giga Coaster with a drop of 305 feet. I think it would be very similar to Orion, with it probably having that wave turn-like element and then going straight into a turnaround. This is something that Busch Gardens really needs. Their only gap in their lineup is a big coaster focused on floater airtime, and a Giga would fit that perfectly. And I know they have that 200-foot height limit, but like I said in previous videos, it's actually not impossible for them to build over it. It just takes a little bit more time. As where this coaster would go, we don't really know. It would most likely get built near the Screamin' Swing. It would most likely also have a typical out and back layout like Orion. But there's also the possibility that they could build it somewhere else. So that is the next 5 years in a nutshell. So it's basically a Screamin' Swing in 2021, an upgraded kids area in 2022, a large scale flat ride in 2023, general park improvements in 2024, and a huge 300-foot Giga Coaster in 2025. Now that is what I think is actually going to happen, but it's not necessarily what I want to happen. In fact, if I own Busch Gardens Tampa, the future would most likely look very different. This is the part of the video that I've been waiting for. I'm going to tell you exactly what I would add to the park if I was in charge. One of my dreams in life is to own an amusement park, so I always think about what a park can improve whenever I go. And obviously this is pure fantasy, but this is what I would do if I owned Busch Gardens Tampa. The first thing I would do if I was in charge would be to fix the problem of not having enough family rides. Sure, they have all the animals, but they need some basic flat rides. So I would do what I said earlier. I would upgrade the kids area of the park, but I would make sure to do it right. I would want this area of the park to be not only an area for kids, but for the entire family. I would put a lot of effort into making this area look as nice as possible, because the nicer the area is, the more time people will actually spend there. And I wouldn't only add kiddie rides, I would also add some sort of family ride like the teacups or a scrambler. As for when I would do this, I would do it in 2022 after the Screamin' Swing, so it wouldn't just be a Sesame Street upgrade, but it would also be an expansion with new rides. The second thing I would do if I owned Busch Gardens would be to fix the problem of Congo River Rapids, and I actually think this is a problem. This is one of the weakest raft rides I've ever been on, and you can definitely tell it's aging. So if I was in charge of BGT, I would completely redo the raft ride by doing one of two things. The first option would be to get a Mystic River Falls type raft ride. This is an amazing attraction and it would be an amazing fit for Busch Gardens. I would also make sure to give this thing top-notch theming. I would theme it to some sort of expedition or something. In fact, I would change the name from Congo River Rapids to Congo River Expedition. But having a Mystic River Falls type ride isn't the only option. The other option would be for them to get Mac's new rocking boat ride. This ride looks absolutely epic. Basically, this ride is a mix between a river rapids and a story-driven boat ride. This ride would be an amazing fit for the park, and on top of this, it would distinguish itself apart from Infinity Falls at SeaWorld. Again, I would name this ride Congo River Expedition or even Congo River Falls to pay homage to the original ride. So if I was in charge, I would add this ride in 2023 or 2024. And while I add this ride, I would make general improvements to the whole section of the park and make it look just a little better and enhance the theming. Now for the coasters. If I was in charge of Busch Gardens, I would add 2 coasters within the next 10 years. Yes, I would indeed add the Giga Coaster in 2025, but I would add one other coaster sometime later, maybe in 2028 or 2029. And this coaster would be another coaster specifically designed for thrill seekers. This ride is a Gerstlauer Infinity Coaster to replace Sand Serpent and Phoenix. Okay, so listen to my thinking. After Busch Gardens adds their Giga Coaster, they will have run out of a lot of space, so from now on their coasters will have to be fairly compact, and a Gerstlauer Infinity fits that perfectly. By the time that this coaster gets built, Scorpion would have been removed a while ago and most likely replaced with a flat ride. So it would be about time for a true replacement. If I was in charge, I would make this Infinity Coaster be very similar to another Infinity Coaster called Mystic. Mystic is one of Gerstlauer's smaller Infinities, but yet it still packs a punch. This is a very compact ride, but it still has awesome elements like a dive loop, a zero-G roll, and even a twisted inline rollback. So this is a very economical addition for the park, but yet it would still definitely bring in the crowds. So basically, this is a win-win situation for the park and the guests. And as for the theme, I would want it to be something that ties into Pantopia and maybe even pay homage to Scorpion. And the last major thing I would do if I was in charge would be to fix the problem of them not having any indoor rides. If I own Busch Gardens, I would want them to have an air-conditioned ride where you can go if it gets too hot or if it rains. So I would do something a little strange. I would take the old theater in Pantopia and turn it into a dark ride. Yes, you heard me right, I would turn it into a dark ride. You may be thinking I'm absolutely crazy, but just hear me out. If Busch Gardens took this theater and built some type of show building behind it, they could definitely turn it into a dark ride. This already provides an amazing facade, and half of it could be turned into a pretty awesome queue line while the other half connects to the show building. And as for the type of dark ride, I don't really know yet. It would either be an interactive shooting dark ride or a story-based one. This option would be most likely much cheaper than building a super large show building from scratch. So that is what I would do if I owned Busch Gardens Tampa, and obviously there's a lot more that goes into it than just picking what coasters and flat rides to add. But to conclude, the future of Busch Gardens is looking super bright, and they will continue to be Florida's thrill ride leader for many more years to come. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see content just like this every week, and comment below your thoughts on what new additions Busch Gardens Tampa will get. And also, I hope you guys enjoyed this new segment on this channel, and if you liked it, comment what park I should do next. This is the Coaster Josh signing out.